Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Avenir 2020. Allow me to briefly introduce you to the institute and the department. Established as the Roorkee College in 1847, our institute was rechristened as the Thomson College of Civil Engineering in 1854. Formerly known as the University of Roorkee, the institution also happens to be the first technical university of independent India. In the year 2001, it was elevated to the status of an IIT. Now coming to our department. It was commissioned in 1998. The Department of Management Studies rightfully believes the juxtaposition of theory and practice is what turns MBA into a fruitful venture. With eminent faculty from both academia and industry, the department also boasts a large number of research scholars. Coming to our achievements and awards, it is a matter of great pride for us that IIT Roorkee was ranked first in management in India by Times Higher Education World University Rankings for Emerging Economies 2019. While IIT Roorkee as a whole was ranked the third university in the country, it was placed at 35th position globally. IIT Roorkee also secured first position among the IITs in the citations per faculty parameter by QS World University Rankings. Leaving behind many reputable B schools, including many IIMs, over the last 3 years, IIT Roorkee has consistently figured among the MBA colleges in India, as per the National Institutional Ranking Framework brought out by the Ministry of Human Resource Development. We are ranked 12th as per the NIRF 2020 and first in the parameter of research and professional practice. Students here actively participate in various national and international level competition and exams. A few highlights have been mentioned here. Four students have cleared CFA level 1 and has one cleared FRM level 1 in 2019. Four students have bagged All India ranks in top 15 in Flip National Challenge 2019. Many have won accolades in various B schools events held in IIMs, IITs, and other management colleges. Now looking at the demographics of the batch to 2020. It was a batch of 77 students having an average work experience of 25 months. The pre-placement offers witnessed a gigantic 300% increase as compared to the previous years. Some of our recruiters have been KP, RBS, Infosys, HCL, Future First, and several others. The demographics of batch 2021 and has an average work experience of 23 months. The summer placement offered a variety of roles and experiences. Some of our recruiters have been KPMG, RBS, RBI, BIRA, Hyperverge, and several others. Now coming to our of 2022. It is a batch of 71 students and has an average work experience of 24 months. This is also the second batch after 2021, which includes students from commerce background. This was all about our department. Now I would like to welcome our guest of honors. With great pride and delight, I welcome Mr. Adil Zafar to Avenir 2020, a flagship event of Department of Management Studies, IIT Roorkee. Mr. Adil Zafar is a co-founder of Hope Educational and Welfare Trust, an NGO founded on 1st April 2017 with a mission to help and provide the best of the education to underprivileged children and empower the women of our society to create a better world for them. Mr. Zafar is also the project manager at Doodle Kids. He is a business and management consultant in the field of education, manufacturing, and digital marketing with a focus on management and marketing strategies. So, without further ado, I would request Mr. Zafar to continue with the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Nitin. Thank you for the warm welcome, and it's a privilege to be sharing this platform with such eminent personalities of the corporate sector. I, however, don't carry that experience that the previous speakers and the previous personalities before me have had, and I would rather than talking on the human on the theme that is human capital management and the idea of leadership, I would like to share my limited experience up till now and how I think early childhood education can shape up the leaders of tomorrow. So, and also, I would like to pardon if I'm a bit if because I'm not keeping well for the last couple of days. So there might be a little bit interruption in my speech because of my congestion in the chest. So, so to begin with. I'll start with human capital management. You've probably heard someone in a leadership position say, "Our employees are our greatest asset." Now that is something that is really common, and that is heard of very easily. So while most of us would agree, I mean, who wouldn't it, right? Employees are the core asset or the greatest asset of any organization, right? But what does it actually mean when we refer to people as assets? Does this mean they have economic value like buildings, inventory, or equipment? Now, let's say renovations to a building will generally increase the building's value, right? And will maybe depreciate in value. But how do you impact the value of an intangible asset like an employee, right? So this is an idea that when I was in MBA, when I was pursuing my MBA, that is what I was constantly thinking when I was going through this subject, that how can you really analyze or calculate the value of an let's say of an employee, of a manager, or of anyone in your organization, be it a small organization or a big organization. So there are couple of reasons that HCM has really kicked off in the last few decades. Why organizations are focusing on HCM? One is that people are starting to recognize that an organization's assets, in terms of the tangible assets, it may be the machinery you have, it may be the technology you have, it may be the building or whatever you have, is actually not really useful if you don't have the right people to utilize it, right? You might be having millions of dollars of patents, but when you don't have the right people to capitalize on it, does that really make sense? No, it doesn't. Right. So one thing is that people have actually since as the speakers before me or the guests before me have focused on how technology is evolving, and the dynamic shift in technology is actually creating so this is actually not a good term to use, that technology is actually impacting a lot of jobs. I think it's the other way around. If technology is obviously made by humans, right? So humans, we are the ones who have created the technology, right? And people who have actually who actually who grew with the technology, who sort of tried to understand how to use that technology and how to make good use for common people, as a whole, of the technology, are actually thriving. Are actually we have seen in the last decade or two, we have seen multi billionaires coming out of tech industry, of technology industry. You have seen examples of Amazon, if you have seen examples of Facebook, and other companies as well, Amazon, right? So what they have done is they have grew multifolds, but the reason behind that is they have understood how to use the technology. People who have not understood, or who are not on the same train, or on the same bandwagon with the technology, they are feeling like missing out, right? So I wouldn't say technology is eating up jobs, or technology is actually killing uh, us who are still unwilling to get adapted to the technology. Now there is this big gap that we need to, and we need to take note of in the corporate sector. So other than that, we have okay. So yes, we have that for many companies, the cost of their workforce is often their greatest expense, in terms of salaries, in terms of bonuses, in terms of you have HRAs, you have insurances. So there's a lot of cost involved in keeping up your workforce. There is this hiring process and a lot of things, right? So what HCM has done is HCM is becoming the driving force behind many new business practices. There's a growing abundance of human capital management software solutions you have now. There is also the emphasis on the concept of human capital as a competitive advantage, right? So let me give you some examples of the points I just quoted: the human capital management software solutions and human capital as a competitive advantage. You have a lot of technologies coming up which are actually you must have heard about or read about Six Sigma lean management, right? It is actually a product of HCM. Earlier there wasn't much focus on this because people were not organizations, I would say, were not really concerned about how their workforce can be trained, or how their workforce can be upgraded. The earlier idea was to, if someone is not actually doing well in the job, the easiest solution was to replace the person, right? They would just go and look for some other person to do that job. But now there's a lot of work that has been done in HCM. Companies or organizations are actually looking to upgrade their uh, workforce, not in terms of replacing them or hiring new ones, but in terms of giving them extensive trainings. Right. So now you have a lot of training modules available in the market, especially after the COVID pandemic. You have a lot of virtual training courses available. So the organizations are actually, instead of trying to replace their workforce, they are trying to upgrade it, right? So this is what I feel, what was needed. But eventually we got to understand this a bit late. But I think we are on the right path, and the organizations and the big corporate houses are now understanding the point, the value of this point of upgrading the current workforce rather than hiring. Nitin, I would also, if there is a question, any question in between, you can obviously ask me, or else I'll just continue. Right?
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. If the question
Okay.
comes up, sir, I'll ask.
Sure. Thank you. So now I'll point out a few example of there is something called as HCI, Human Capital Index, right? That is something that is also associated, that's just not associated with a big organization. It is also associated with a smaller organization. So there are few examples of that I would like to share. So once you have a good HCM, human capital management system, in place in your organization, what that gives out is it creates and deploys organizational vision and values. So let's say I run a small organization. I have 5 people. Until and unless I am clear with my goal, with my vision, how can I expect my employees, my team members uh, to work on those vision, to work on my vision, to work on the company's vision, until and unless I'm clear, right? So first is the today's leaders need to be really clear about what they want, what are the organization's visions, what are the leaders vision. So there could be as the MBA students, you might question, okay, why how much of a difference is there between a leader's vision and a organization's vision? These two are not one thing. These two are two different set of things. There might be a lot of points which might be similar in both on the both list of vision, but there these two are two separate things. I suppose I'm leading Doodle Kids, as you just mentioned in my introduction. I'm leading Doodle Kids, and it's a preschool basically. It's a play school. We have a chain of preschool running in India and other countries as well. My idea might be to to penetrate the Indian market, where a lot of play school culture is not there. So let's talk about tier 3 cities. We do have tier 2 cities wherein there are a lot of play schools coming up, but in tier 3 cities there is no culture of earlier education. The people there still don't really understand why play schools exist. They think of it as time pass, or maybe as a means of parents taking a break from their small children. So that is why they send them to the play school for 3 hours or 4 hours. So that is still the mentality in the tier 3 cities. Now, my idea is to change that. My idea is to make people understand that a solid foundation, solid early years foundation, can actually do a lot of good in the development of a child. So let's say you are a 4-year-old kid, 5-year-old kid, and uh, you don't you are writing. Let's say you are learning to write A B C D or 1 2 3, right? That's how we all started. But do you who actually teaches you to what is the correct posture of holding a pencil? What is the correct posture of drawing a pencil, right? So there are if you can see on the screen, there are a lot of kids who hold like this, right? There are a lot of kids who hold like this. But then again, what early year education does is they teach you the minute importance of doing anything. So there are a lot of fine motor skills involved in just writing. You have your fingers attached to this movement. You have your wrist movement. Then you have your whole arm that that works in synchronization with what you are writing, right? So these are fine motor skills. Now this is something that early year education works on, right? So coming back to the point, my idea would be to make people or make families in tier 3, tier 4 cities of our country understand the importance of early years education. But the idea of, I would say, organization might be different. The idea of organization might be to concentrate on metro cities, since they have more spending capacity. You would get admissions easily. You would get a lot of inquiries, because there are usually both the parents are working in metro cities. So you would have this this easier way of going getting success. But as compared to smaller cities, towns, you don't have that enthusiasm. You don't have the, I would say, awareness of early years education, and you don't have that financial means to send their small child to a preschool. So now, as you can see, there is a change. There's a difference in ideas. Now, the important thing is, being a leader. The important thing is to integrate the vision of the organization into my personal vision, and then formulate a strategy or a plan or a goal that can be achievable. Right. So this is why it is important to understand the vision. So I was on the point that it is important to create and deploy organizational vision and values. Then we have another point that it's important to create a new employee onboarding process. Now, since big companies like Google and Microsoft are still have actually jumped on the bandwagon, but earlier there was not much in terms of onboarding process and employee integration into the system. There was a few days training, but integration would still be dependent on the personal will and efforts of any employee, how they can get along with their team members, with the organizational culture. But now it is important that the organization makes enough efforts to help the new employees or team members integrate with the culture of the organization. Right. So these are a few points that I think that are important to be kept in today's scenario in terms of human capital management. Now, there are a certain core organization values that are associated to it as well. As I said, organization vision and values. Apart from that, strategic goals and objectives. So whether they are quarterly, annually, or 5-year, big 5-year plans, human capital initiatives will often be driven by your organization goals, right? So specific measurable goals are important to be set so that it is easier for anyone, for any team member, right from your lower level employee to a senior level manager, to in order to understand that what are the organization's objectives. Now, also, again, there is one more point that can be connected to this is HCM leadership team. Now, what is HCM leadership team? So, like any system, HCM needs to be managed by people, right? So, because of the far-reaching impact of human capital initiative, the HCM team will typically be cross-functional with leaders from across the organization. Since it's a time we are in the era of globalization. We have multiple leaders across multiple continents, I would say, and multiple organizations. So it is very important to I'm sorry, to create that environment which can then enable the cross-functional activity of the organization. So let's say in organizations with a dedicated human resource function, the most senior leader in the HR department, let's say your chief human resource officer or VP of HR, will often drive the HCM initiatives. In smaller organizations, this responsibility can be taken up by the leader of the organization, like the CEO or CEO. So HCM building that HCM structure is important irrespective of the size of the organization. If you don't have let's say if you don't have a organization with hundreds of team members, it's not important and let's say you have an organization with 10 members. Now you might think, how is that possible in an organization of 10 members? How am I going to delegate the HCM authority? You don't need to have a separate dedicated person for that. Even the CEO, even the co-founder can work on that. But working on that is important. Establishing that system is important irrespective of the size, right? Then there is one more point that can be connected with this, and that is uh, there is a very deep requirement of data management in success requires data for decision making, right? In order to manage or maybe take action on and measure the results of human capital initiatives. So, let's say if you have taken a initiative, there are many types of employees in the organization. But let's say if you have a separate database for those employees, if you have a system that the data can be captured and workforce analytics can be performed out of that data, such as, let's say, employee demographics, compensation, benefits, payroll, attendance, performance management, management, like every individual is different. So every individual then has their own certain requirements. So if you have that data management system available in your organization, irrespective of the size, you can obviously then work on developing your individual team. So data management is also very important. Now I would like to with the other part of the topic, that is the idea of leadership. If you have questions on this, you may ask, or I shall.
Yes, sir. I have a question for you, sir.
Mhm,
So the initiative that you have taken is very difficult to pursue, and it is something that young entrepreneurs don't venture into. So
mhm.
what was your motivation factor to to come up with a startup like this?
Okay, so what happened is I personally haven't been to a preschool, right? But since a lot of preschools are coming up, especially in metro cities like Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore, so I I sort of I'm so sorry. I sort of try to understand how this preschool necessity was created in the market, right? What happened is I then went to a lot of preschool brands, and I interviewed their founders, co-founders, right? So what happened is they said that a lot of teachers, a lot of kids are being sent by parents who are working, right? So I thought, okay, so this doesn't seem to be a very profitable, or it might be a profitable business model, but I don't see any good coming out of the society, out of for the society. Then I got to understand how early years curriculum works out, and then I found out that it is important to uh, how this the early years framework actually develops a lot of skills. You have your physical development, you have your emotional development, you have your development. And when the child starts with the school, let's say class one, they they basically understand the concepts. If let's say if you're talking about the numerical one, if it is one, it is one because it's one apple, right? It's one apple. There are two apples, so that is why they understand how to count and relate to that, right? So that is how I then started realizing that even if maybe I had the exposure to earlier education, I would have understood the concepts easier, and I would have understood the concept in a lot better way. Now, what we did after that is interesting. Uh, Once we established the early years education centers, we then went into our the NGO, that is the Hope, right? We started establishing Hope centers, especially in Uttar Pradesh. Now, as I said, as I mentioned earlier about the NGO, the Rural Kids initiative, when we went into tier 3 and tier 4 cities, we found out that a lot of parents were not actually financially capable to send their send their students to preschools. What we did is we started taking them in without any charges. We would teach them, we would educate them, and when the I'm sorry again, when the child would be ready enough to go to school, we would then give them a chance to study in our Hope schools. So Hope schools are basically, we have been running these schools for the last 3 years, and in the main branch, or in the main school in Aligarh, we have around 180 students studying there between grade 1 to grade 5. So this is like we have created a chain. We start with early years education, then once the child is done with their earlier education, we move them to the Hope Primary School, wherein we teach them. We don't charge anything. We provide everything, right from your books, your bags, your even we provide them with the financial support. So we started a couple of campaigns for their parents. We started with the Sui Dhaga campaign, right? So what happens is, since a lot of children's mothers were actually working as housemaids, were working as part-time workers in, let's say, in constructions and other businesses. So we understood that. Now, how we connected this with the idea of leadership is that we understood that a mother, especially in the Indian subcontinent, you would see the lady of the house is actually the leader, right? The father or the man is I would say, in most of the households, especially in rural areas, are actually just responsible for the financial what do you call it? The financial responsibilities, and most of the time they don't perform that as well. The other responsibilities, empowering the student, teaching the student, or I would say the teaching the kid, looking after the household, that is all borne by the lady of the house, by the mother actually. So we thought of, let's empower the mothers. We worked on women empowerment. We simultaneously launched a couple of campaigns. One was called the Sui Dhaga campaign, wherein we provided a lot of sewing machines to such wonderful mothers who were not financially stable. We gave them extensive training of 3 months, 6 months, depending on what campaign they were eligible. And so, sorry. And so this in turn help the mothers, or help the lady of the house, to become financially independent. Now they were not just dependent on their husbands, or the man of the house for financial stability. And also what happened is, we noticed that the kids used to get enrolled in our school. They would attend the school for a couple of weeks, for a couple of months, then they would not show up. There was a huge dropout rate. Uh, we then spoke to their families. We went to the places where they lived. A lot of them actually live in slums. So we asked them, okay, why are you not sending your child to school? We are not charging you anything. What's the reason then behind not sending your child? Then the mother of the child would say that actually, since we don't have any, I would say we have heard a lot of really sad answers, but I would like to share a couple of them. So there was this mother, and she said that her child was 7 year old. So there was this 7 year old kid called Abhinav. He was actually brilliant. He was the topper of the class, and he was attending our Hope Primary School for 3 months, and then suddenly he stopped coming. So I went to his house, and I had a talk with his mother, and she said that since his father, Abhinav's father, is not able to support us financially, we are having issues with, even with bread and butter right now. So that is the reason Abhinav had to go out and sell cigarettes and other stuff. So then I, with along the other honorary board members, decided to launch such campaigns, which would then help the women of the house financially. We started with the Suvidhaga campaign, wherein the ladies, the mother, the women now actually stitch clothes, stitch bags, stitch masks. We actually made use of this pandemic crisis, as in we taught them how to stitch mask, and till now we have I think provided I think more than 50,000 masks to different organizations. We actually, the women who are associated with this campaign, they stitch the masks. We have other corporate houses in place who then actually buy those masks for their own consumption, or for local distribution in poor areas. Right. So this is how we try to empower the women there. So so the idea of leadership here is to understand. See, there's this age-old saying that leaders are not born; they are created. In order to create leaders, you need to identify who has the right skill to be a good and effective leader. That is really important. So we, on both the projects, in terms of, we are identifying children who can be actually be good leaders. Not we are not expecting people or children coming out of these areas, or these financially ridden families, to be the next Sundar Pichai. That would be really that would be really asking them to do a lot. But uh, you cannot, you can never say no. We expect them to be tomorrow's leaders, but what a realistic expectation out of them is to actually become at least the leader of their house, right? So once we educate them, once we empower them, once we let them know that why education is important, they might then be able to get their family out of that poverty or out of that situation, and maybe lead a respectable, healthy, and a good life. So the idea of life is not to have a lot of cars or fancy offices or fancy organizations, big organizations. It is the idea of leadership is to lead a respectable life, and that's what we are doing with our campaigns of Dual Kids and Hope, especially.
Thank you, sir. So I think Hari Deepak has a question to ask.
Oh yes.
Sir, how is that human capital index calculated, sir? And can it be used to measure the effectiveness of a human capital management framework? That was the question I had. Because you mentioned that.
I'm sorry, can you come again, because I'm having some issues with my network.
Oh, nothing, sir. Human capital index, which you mentioned, human capital index, how is it calculated? I'm asking. Oh,
Okay, how is the human capital index calculated? Is that what you're
yes, sir.
asking?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How is it calculated? Is there any formula for that, or is it based on some performance metrics or something?
Oh yes, yes, yes. I'll just have water, please. I'm sorry, as I said, I'm not keeping well for the last 3 days. So, yeah. Excuse the interruption. See, there are a lot of metrics available that can be used to basically measure the human capital index, right? So, human capital index. Okay, what is human capital index? Uh, let's get to that point first. Let's understand that point first. Then we can maybe have a better clarity of how it can be measured. So. Uh, Now, as I said, I mentioned a few points in my in the starting that HCI is used to calculate. It is used to create and deploy organization vision and values, create new employee orientation and boarding process, raise investment funds to hire. Let's say, okay, so we have a team of 5 people. You have an organization that employs 5 team members, right? Now what happens is, how do you understand that the role you have given to each member is actually appropriate and is actually relatable to the skill they possess? How do you calculate that? So what happens is, when you get any team member on board, right? You start with their training. In training, you can then have an effective in-depth analysis of what the team member is responding to, right? So in my organization, what I do is, let's say we are actually hiring an operations manager for Hope, right? So what the operations manager will be in charge in Hope is, they will be in charge of handling the day-to-day operations of the organization, like what could be the I would say the daily requirement of the requirement of books, and what will be the requirement of bags, what will be the requirement of the teachers in order to conduct the day-to-day classes. So these are the operations that are being run in a school. Now, how would I understand that if the person I've chosen for the operations manager profile is right or not? So in that sense, what happens is, I train that particular person for, let's say, a couple of weeks, right? So I then I give them a series of tasks to complete in that couple of weeks training program. If I find that okay, the employee or the team member is responding to that task appropriately, I then they calculate their efficiency and their
I think we've lost the sir. Once he'll join again, I'll ask him to repeat. Yes, sir. Sir, we lost you for a bit, sir.
I think I had some issues with my network. It dropped out.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So as I was
So,
saying, so
could you?
particular.
Yes,
Please go on. Hello.
please, sir, continue, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, there is no particular formula to calculate the human capital index. It depends on what you're expecting from your team member, how he or she is able to contribute in terms of their deliverables in an effective way. Then you can understand if if the particular team member needs to be trained more, or there's a specific skill training that you need to provide them with. So there's no particular hard and fast rule of calculating any human capital index.
Thank you, sir. Thanks.
Yes. So I would, since I think I do have a little bit of time available, uh, uh, walk you through how HCM is important in NGOs. Since I've been working with NGOs for last 5 to 6 years, so if you all allow me to share that, I'll be glad to.
Please, sir. And sir, I request you, sir, if there's any PPT that you wanted to share. Actually, it was not visible earlier.
Oh, okay, okay. Is this now visible?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Yeah. So this is the Silai Pathshala I was talking about. It was a community-based initiative during this COVID-19, wherein we employed financially unstable and or I would actually I term them as leaders of their respective houses. So we gave them a chance to show their skills, to show their hard work, and show that when provided with the right opportunity, the tools, and the platform, these leaders can actually do a lot. A leader is not someone who is dressed in a in a formal suit. It can be you who can actually be a leader. Young students like you might someone from your batch might come up with an idea to actually contribute towards society. And to me, that person is a leader because he or she is leading the way. He or she is showing what is to be done, and how it is to be done. So leaders are not just people who are in their 40s or 50s or 60s with lots of experience, or with multi-million or multi-billion dollar companies behind them. It can be You can become the leader of your house. Let's things who need to be who need to be guided with their studies. You can guide them with their studies, with their career, and hence you are a leader because you are then trying to change that particular child's, or in your case your siblings idea towards what they want to become, right? So you are basically providing them with counseling. So leadership is, as I said, it's just not about your corporate structure. It's about your house. It's about leadership in your classroom, in your batch, or whatever, wherever you are currently right now. You can be an example. You can lead from the front. So this is the Hope Silai Pathshala, and moving on. This is so okay. Talking about the shape of textile industry in future. So Hope Trust believes that one day this Silai Pathshala, Aao Chalo, Atmanirbhar Bano, will take the shape of textile with the sole purpose of empowering women belonging to marginalized communities by making them self-sufficient, and this can play a major role to bring back the dropout rate and new kids to school at the right age. So since I said the dropout ratio was high, not because the child was not interested, or not because we were asking too much from the child. It was because the child in that young tender age had a lot of responsibilities. We have come across families whose daughters were studying in fourth standard with us, and they stopped coming to the school, and then we went out and asked them why, and they said they got them married. So these are the few instances, few stories that really moved us. You all might have watched them in movies. You might have heard them in books that okay, this girl was married at the age of 12. But I have seen those stories, and I've seen them in my recent time. I've seen them in a couple of years. And the reason they got the girl married was because they were not financially capable of feeding that girl, of girl, or empowering that girl. So the first thing we wanted to do is we wanted to empower the girl, the women of the house, the leader of the house, to have that financial stability at least, and so that they don't stop sending their children to schools. So this is how we think this textile industry can shape the future of the marginalized communities, or I would say lesser economic privilege societies, because of textile since textiles industry in India is one of the biggest, and also this skill doesn't require you to invest a lot of time, invest a lot of energy, or invest a lot of money. You just need a stitching machine to start your textile business, right? So this is why we wanted to focus, and we are focusing on the Silai Pathshala and the Sui Dhaga campaign. So now what happens is the Hope team, we have a team of a lot of people, dynamic people who then collect orders from the market, from the corporates as well, and we have done a tie-up with a clothing brand as well, who is actually asking, or who's actually has given us order of around 3,000 frocks. They want 3,000 frocks, which will be stitched by our women leaders, and then those frocks will be sold in the market in their big retail outlets, and whatever they earn from that will be then directly given to in the hands of the women, or the leaders that I call them. So this is what we have been doing. Now this is the breakdown of what is the need of our NGO in terms of enabling the leaders with this. So we have this is what we are planning to expend every month: sewing machines with stands, 20 sewing machines with stands every month. Then we have salaries of trainers, then we have tailoring kit, then we have monthly expenses. So this is a breakdown of what is required. Now, this was about the Hope campaign. Again, coming back to the leadership as the theme is. So, Doodle Kids have, as I said, we have two initiatives going on. One is the initiative for the lower economically backward class, and then we have the normal initiative wherein we are looking towards educating children with highest level of, I would say, holistic development. In that sense, we are opening up preschools in different cities, so that children from different backgrounds, from different economic backgrounds, will have a single platform to sit and learn. So when you talk about early childhood education, you talk about. So, a child is really too small to understand what financial gap means. So, what we do is, in that sense, we we take in admissions from good families, from I would say financial capable families, and also financially incapable families, and we teach them in one single classroom. I mean, we don't differentiate on the basis of where you're coming from. We provide them with the same uniform. We provide them with the same teacher. We provide them with the same setup. There is nothing different. There is, so that the child doesn't feel left out. So this is also what we are trying to do with both our campaigns. We are trying to instill the feeling of equality, the feeling of competitiveness, the feeling of sharing right from the beginning. Sorry. Is there anything you would like to ask?
Yes, sir. I have a question, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, how do you deliver your message to the parents of this girl child? Because I think most of these parents are not that educated, and people like them, they are very pretty adamant. They don't want to change the perception of their mind. So, how do you deal with them when you are delivering the message?
Okay. Sorry. So as I said, we have interviewed a lot of parents who are coming from economically poor backgrounds, and we try to understand their issues. We try to understand why they are not able to send their children to school, or why don't they see the necessity to send their children to schools. So the main reason they gave us most of the time was, again, the financial instability they had. Then uh, they also had a sort of a negligence towards education. They were too stubborn to understand. So what we had to do is we had to launch a lot of campaigns wherein we had to teach them why it is important to educate your child. Education is directly related to empowerment. We had to conduct almost regular daily sessions in a lot of economically backward areas, or I would say slums, and wherein we would have 50 families, 100 families at a time, and we would then educate them on why education is important, and how education is going them come out of this position they are currently in, and put them in a better position. So not I would be very honest, not all of them agreed, not all of them were on board, but at least in I'm so sorry again. But 60 to 70% of the families actually responded. They took interest. They sent their child to our schools, let it be our preschools or our primary schools, and they were regular. A lot of them dropped out because, as I said, because of the financial issues. But then again, we came up with a lot of campaigns to tackle this issue as well. Now, one more thing that we try to do is, we let's say we are teaching, let's say 100 students in one center of our brand, or our school. There are 100 students, and actually 50 of them, let's say, they complete the primary level of education, that is up to class 5th. Now, among them, among the 50 that completed their grade 5, there are at least 20% of kids who are actually capable enough to go for higher studies. Let's say in 6 they are able to continue. Now, with our current system, with our current structure, we don't have grade 6 onwards. But what we do is, we then tie up with central institutions, like you have your DU, you have your AMU, your Jamia, right? You have your JNU. So we have tied up with those institutions, and we have tied up with other private schools, with charitable schools, wherein they help us, and they provide the same they provide the same level of education, in terms of they don't charge anything from them, and they then continue with them. So we have almost 15 students now who are studying in classes 9, 10th, and 11th, from who have been who have been gone through our Hope School. So we have helped them get admissions in premier schools and institutes. A couple of them are studying in DPS. So a lot of big brands are also helping us in our cause. So that is how we are evolving and growing as an NGO.
Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome. And
Thank
one
you.
more thing I would like to add here is, out of the strength that we are currently educating, 60% of them are females. Now that is the figure that we all need to understand, especially you guys who are the shapers, the leaders of tomorrow. We really need to empower our women. The next leaders are going to be women, and I don't know if how much time that might take. It all depends on our collective effort. If our women are educated, if the women of our great nation are educated, there is no stopping us. So I would request you young people to emphasize on that, work on that, come up with ideas on how we can empower our women. Women will be tomorrow's leaders.
Thank you so much, sir. We really thank you for joining us despite not being in the best of your health. Thank you, sir, for sharing your
So
insights.
I'm so sorry I couldn't continue for a long time, and also I kept interrupting because of my my health. But it
Yes,
was
sir.
wonderful speaking with you all.
Thank you, sir. Sir, thank you again for sharing your insights on first having a vision and develop a proper business model with respect to your vision so that one can achieve organization objective irrespective of the size of the organization. It won't be an exaggeration to say that your insights and advice regarding human capital initiatives and data management will help us in pursuing our own startups in the future. We are sure your commitment will inspire students from our batch to contribute to the society. Thank you so much again, and sir, for giving your time for this session. Apart from that, sir, Department of Management Studies, IIT Roorkee, congratulates and appreciates you and your NGO for working relentlessly and running charitable schools for the education of underprivileged children, girls upliftment, and women empowerment. We are honored to partner with your foundation, and we hope this association continues for a very long time.
Thank you, Nitin. Thank you, everyone, for being there. And I would especially like to thank the director, Professor Ajit Kumar Chaturvedi. Thank you for giving me this opportunity of connecting with such young and future leaders of tomorrow. Also, I would like to thank Professor Isha, and she I think she's the head of DOMS, right? I would like to thank her for giving me this opportunity, and also Professor MK Barwa. Thank you, everyone, and hopefully we'll be connecting again.
Yes, sir. And sir, our batch would like to show our gratitude for the initiative that you have taken and the wonderful work that you are doing. Boys, thank you, sir.
That is
Thank you, sir.
this is a special moment. This is a special moment. uh, can I have a screenshot of this or something, because I'm not really well versed with the technology?
Yes, sir. Sir, we'll keep it holding. You can take a screenshot.
Yeah. Let me take a picture of this. Thank you.
Sir, we can also share it with you over mail. So we can also
Okay.
do that.
Thank you, everyone. This is this is a special moment, and I would like to support you all in your future endeavors and initiatives, especially as I said for the girl child. I would request we have such brilliant young minds on the stage here. I would request you all to please come up with ideas wherein we can help our daughters, our sisters, are the great women of the nation. And in any way, if I can support you all, please free to contact me.
Definitely, sir. Thank you so much again. Thank you so much, sir, for this
Thank you,
section.
Nitin. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
sir.
We'll connect again. Thank you.
I request rest of the participants to stay. So, guys, as we are at the end of this great event, I want to thank all the big business leaders from various industries for enlightening us throughout this event. I also want to thank the Honorable Director, IIT Roorkee, Head of Department, Professor Usha Linka ma'am, Professor Barwa sir, and all other faculties for their support. Special thanks to Somnath sir for being the guiding light and playing a crucial role in the success of this event. And finally, thanks to all the student coordinators and participants for making this event successful. Thank you, everyone, for joining all these lectures. The event, you guys made this event really big and successful. Thank you, everyone.